Your church website plays a vital role in your community discovering your church. But my question for you today is, does your website provide the right information and, more importantly, the right inspiration that draws your people's attention to your church and nurtures them to visit? In this video, I'm covering how you can build intentional and effective website content that creates a long-term guest nurturing strategy, meaning you can build relationships with your potential guests before they even step foot in the building. Plus, I'm going to give you my online guest gift strategy that we use to see more people coming to trust the church so they can eventually come to church so you can then make disciples, share the gospel with them. Let's get into today's episode. I'm very excited for this one.
Welcome to the Best Known Church Show, where we show you how to 10x your reach with church marketing that will help you increase your impact, make more disciples, and become the cornerstone of your community again. This is for the leaders with an outrageous vision, because anything less would be an inaccurate reflection of our Creator. The ones who have unreasonable faith, because you know God works unreasonable miracles. And the ones who are relentless in the pursuit of your calling, because anything less would not make a good and faithful servant. If that's you, you're in the right place. Now, please welcome your host and guide on this journey to become the best known organization in your community, Justin Nava.
Welcome to the Best Known Church Show. I'm Justin Nava. If we haven't met, I take full responsibility for that. The purpose of this show, this podcast that you're listening to, or episode that you're watching on YouTube, the purpose of this is to help your church get out from under the rock and stop being the best kept secret and be the best known organization in your community. It's no longer enough to be an option for your people. You must present your church as the option. And so many times I audit a dozen church websites a week. You think I would have run out, but there's so many churches in the US. And they all look the same. I could grab a church website and I could ask someone, is this your website with just the content, just the writing, not the images or the design? And you would honestly, many pastors would say, yeah, that's my website. And it's from across the country. There are so many generic websites that all the churches online look the same. The exception, of course, the ones that have professional writing, professional design, and of course our clients. But churches that often try to do it themselves or have volunteers create the website, they go and look at what other churches are doing. And as a result, their website looks like every other church. To which my question is, if you think that's not a problem, if I'm a potential guest and I'm looking for a church, either I'm unchurched, de-churched, burnt out on church, looking to give it a second chance. Let's forget the church transplants for now. And I see your church website and you look like every other church. Well, here's the problem with that, Pastor. I haven't considered any other church in my entire life or even recently, or I de-churched, burned out, whatever you want to call it. And you look just like the one that burned me out. You look just like the one that forsake me. So if I have not given them any time of day or attention, why should I give you attention? Look, we understand that the church, your local church, or every local church is uniquely equipped to uniquely reach a unique group of people, right? You have a unique body that's part of a larger body, but you are equipped to reach a certain group of people. A great example of this is language, right? We understand that there is a language barrier. So if I'm at an English-speaking church, I'm not going to invite the Mandarin-speaking neighbor to come to my church. We are not equipped to serve them. Right? I'm going to hopefully get to know them and somehow invite them to the church down the street that is a Chinese congregation or a Mandarin-speaking congregation, right? So we understand that every church has a certain maybe group of people, even though some of them may be wider, some of them may be narrow, but there are certain people that they are gifted to serve and share the gospel with. And I don't see that online. I don't see these churches that are calling out saying, we are here to serve you because we understand your problems. Instead, it's more, welcome home, you're invited, join us on this day. If you don't give me a reason to pay attention to your church, then I am not going to pay attention to your church. And so today we're going to talk about how you can effectively reach your community with your church website content. If the website is the front door of the church, then what is that first impression going to give? Are you going to look like every other house that I'm not going to or have no interest in going to? Or are you going to look like the house that I say, that's where the party's at? That's where I want to go, right? Not saying your church is like an entertaining party concert, but you know what I mean? Like, that's where I want to go. I want someone to drive down your driveway. You ever go to a kid's birthday party and you see balloons on the mailbox and you know, that's the house that we got to go to, right? That's the signal we want to put out. When someone sees our church website, they don't look at it and say, oh, look at this church. It's a nice church. They look at it and say, I want to go there. And that starts with your content. Let me jump into why your church design doesn't matter as much as you think it does. A lot of people think, my website's not working. We're not getting people to our church. We need a new website design, or we need a new website platform. Look, your design actually does not matter that much. Consider this. Imagine you have a preacher on stage, beautiful lighting, perfect sound, pastor's, tall man, booming voice, real slick suit, pink pastel pocket square, and he's just the most wonderful, charismatic communicator, orator that you've ever heard. But you're in this place on a Sunday morning listening to this man, and he ain't preaching the Bible. He never mentions a verse. He's just a motivational speaker on a church stage. Contrast to a church that my grandparents went to. It was actually my cousin's church. And the preacher gets up and he's in Birkenstocks, shorts, and a t-shirt. Okay. And my grandparents, conservative people visiting my cousin's church, didn't know what to expect. Didn't really care for a preacher that dressed like what they said, a bum. But you know what they said? They said that preacher dressed like a bum, but boy, did he present the gospel. Boy, could he preach. He reached some souls that day. So many people were coming down to confess and repent. So would your church, would you pastor, if you had to pick, I hate playing opposites here, would you rather be the sharp-dressed motivational speaker that doesn't actually share the gospel, or would you rather be the bum that actually preaches the gospel that saves lives? Now, I put those two opposites in front of you to show that, if you had to pick, you're going to pick, like a guest speaker, you're going to pick the bum that preaches the gospel. I'm not saying I'm not saying I think he's a bum, the grandparents think he's a bum. I just think that's a funny way they put it. You're always like sitting at the dining table, oh, grandma, oh, grandpa. And the same way that I present the two opposites, the same way church websites are kind of presented right now, okay? We can have these beautiful designed websites, and I'm not knocking the platforms. There are some great church website platforms out there, but they present the problem that your design is what's getting in the way. That's like saying no one's getting baptized at your church, pastor, because you're not dressing nice enough. What it really is your content is not speaking or resonating to your community in a way that compels them to take action. I'm not saying you got to have a boring, poor designed website. That's important, but if you had to pick one, or if you had to put more priority on something, you need to put priority on your content, okay? And again, going back to that, would you rather, if you had a guest speaker come, would you rather have a well-dressed motivational speaker, or would you rather have the guy that preaches the gospel, right? And so your design doesn't matter as much as you think it does, because what brings people to church is not your website design, okay? No one comes to your church website that becomes a guest. No one says, what a beautiful website. Let me go to that church. No, what they say is, I want that. Okay? Whether they're looking at your pictures of your people, the events that you have, the plan a visit page or what to expect page, there is something there that they are reading that says, okay, this is possibly for me, right? And if you're getting people coming to your church, that's fantastic. Imagine how many more would come if you actually put some intentionality into your website content that communicates in a way to them, this church is here for you, Christ is here for you, we're going to guide you to him, to this ultimate fulfillment, and we're the place to come. So come and see, or we'll go to you, find us here, right? However you want your content to be laid out, okay? Your design doesn't matter that much, because a lot of people, this, pastor, you may have switched designs in the last 10 years 2 or 3 times, and you're seeing the same results. Baptisms are stagnant, guests are just stagnant, plateaued, maybe even declining. The problem is not your design, it's what you're actually saying on your website. So what should your church website have? Let me lost my notes here. What content should your church website have? Ultimately, you need to decide, is your church website for guests, for your community? Is it outward facing? Or is it for your membership, your congregation? Is it inward facing? Okay, much like a conversation I had with my, he wasn't my youth pastor. I interned under him. I don't know how to say that. The youth pastor that I interned under, he had a great observation. He said, at some point, a pastor needs to decide, is my church for the community, or is my church for the churched? Okay, are we going to be a church for outreach, or are we going to be a church for inreach? I don't personally, I don't believe there's a problem with either answer, but you got to have an answer. Because if you try to appeal to both, instead of saying we're going to appeal to both, you end up being unappealing to both. Instead of communicating why one should care and why the other should care, you're actually communicating why one should not care and the other should not care. Okay? So my content philosophy, when I sit down to write a website, or when my team sits down to write a website, the number one thing we look at is, what is the church's mission? All right? Because believe it or not, every church has a different mission, okay? And remember, your mission is why you exist. It's an internal asset. It's not something you broadcast to the world, okay? I don't know why churches got this idea that the mission statement will bring people to church, okay? The mission statement is an inward-focused idea. It's the same way that the business mission statement is not your marketing material, it's not your promotional asset. It's something you train your employees on, your new hires. They learn the mission statement. They should internalize the mission statement, and they should live it out in their career. In the same way, the mission statement is internal for our congregation. We want to be a church that makes disciples who makes disciples. That's an internal motivation. That's an internal mission. Nobody's walking around your community saying, "Oh, I wish someone would make me a disciple who makes disciples." That's not your outward messaging, so to speak. So that said, your content for your website should be mission-minded. So if you want to be a church that makes disciples who makes disciples, your content needs to reach out and be an asset of your discipleship path, or it should be an asset to draw people in to be discipled. If your mission is to glorify God by sharing his purpose of creation, that's a real heady mission statement. But then your website should glorify God, meaning puts Jesus first, right? It ain't about the building, it's about Jesus, by sharing the purpose of his creation. I'm just pulling an example of a mission statement I think I read earlier this week, okay? So then your website needs to communicate purpose. It needs to communicate like you were created for a purpose. And just writing "welcome home Sunday at 10:30, that doesn't communicate that. I hardly believe that glorifies God. It's just information about a church service. It doesn't communicate purpose, and it doesn't communicate why I was created or compel me to find purpose. So you have to know your mission, why your church exists, and then your website needs to play a part in showcasing or fulfilling why that exists. I hope that makes sense, because I'm going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into like how you write the content for your site, or at least what content you need for your site. So you have to know, why do we exist? And why we exist should also be why your church website exists. If your website does not run parallel with your mission, if your website does not run parallel with your vision to help you get to where God's vision is taking you, your website is a waste of money. If you're paying $5 a month for your website and it's not aligned with your mission statement, you're being a bad steward with your church finances, okay? Now, on the opposite side, if you pay buco bucks, right? You pay a professional agency, even more professional than Nava Church Marketing. I'm talking about the big old brand guys that charge you $10,000 to $20,000 just for your brand package, okay? And you pay them that much money, and you're like, oh, Lord, that's so much money. You can get it cheaper elsewhere. But they are perfectly in tune with your mission statement, in tune with your church's purpose and why you exist. And this branding package is going to help you accelerate your church in the right direction to accomplish your mission and move forward your vision. That is a fantastic investment. We have to get in these lines where everything we do has to be aligned with our mission, and that includes your content. So let me get back on track here, and let's talk about the content your church website needs to draw in guests. So I've shared with you my content philosophy. I'm going to share with you now how to treat your church website that actually brings in more guests. And I like to allude it to this way. Your church website needs to act as a greeter, at least the greeters we want in our church. Meaning if someone comes to my church door, I want someone, if not myself, I want someone at our church to say, welcome, I'm so glad you're here. How can I help you? Can I carry these bags for you? Can I show you to, I'm going to look at this person. Do they have kids? Let me show you to the nursery. Are they alone? Hey, let me show you to a seat, right? Or hey, how can I, or what can I do for you? How can I help you, right? That's what we want, a personalized welcome. And I'm not talking about like personalization here. If you're a marketer, if you've been on those channels, I'm not talking about personalization here. I'm saying we want something that feels personal. And I want to be guided into what to do next. Okay, if I walk into a church, hey, I see you have kids. Can I show you to the kids' room? Now they can say no, but most of the time when you say something like that, it's like, yeah, absolutely. Show me where I need to go, please. All right. You want your church website to function like that greeter, not like what I lovingly call. I have no problem with Chili's, but you don't want your website to be like a Chili's server who walks up to your table, puts a menu in front of you, and says, "What can I get for you today? What do you want today?" Okay? What can I get for you today is even nicer than what you may experience. Hey, tell me what you want. Okay? Because what's going to happen is, especially when it comes to churches, right? People are going to look at the menu or look at everything your church is doing. Okay? Your Sunday morning service, your Wednesday night prayer, your VBS, your fall launch, your sign-up opportunities, your prayer requests, your small groups. They're going to look at all that and say, this is way too much. Obviously, I'm not in church for a reason. There's something happening here that's great for you, but I don't know where I fit in, so let me go somewhere else. Okay? The difference between a Chili's menu and your website is people actually know what they're getting into at a Chili's probably. They don't know what they're getting into with your local church, and if they think they know, it's because of preconceived notions and experiences they've had from other churches they've possibly visited. And that's more often bad than good. So you have to decide. Do you want your church to be the Chili's server, or do you want it to be the personal guest? Do you want to throw a menu in people's faces and say, tell me what you want, pick what you want, tell me what you want to do? Or do you want to be that greeter that says, come with me on this journey. Let me show you what we have for you, okay? And to do that, the simplest way is to just pick one thing. And this is a question that catches a lot of pastors when I talk to them. What is the one thing? If you had your website only do one thing, like someone came to your website and they were only allowed to do one thing, what is that one thing you want them to do? For some churches, for many churches actually, it's I want them to come on Sunday. I want them to make the decision to come on Sunday morning. Great. So that's when you use plan a visit, see what to expect, explore Sundays, whatever that is, okay? For a growing number of churches, they don't want Sunday morning to be a guest's or visitor's first impression of the church. They want it to be a small group. They want it to be an outreach event. They want it to be a sermon that they want to watch online. Maybe a gospel message, okay? In which case, forget everything else. That becomes the main focus of your website, okay? And it sounds counterintuitive. Well, if we don't tell everyone everything we do, how are we going to get them in all of our entrance points? Easy, right? If you tell someone, come through here, 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 like they're going to sit there and be like, well, maybe. But if you tell someone, hey, follow me through here, you're going to get more people following you. Okay? So pick one thing that you want your guests to do, your online visitors to do, and build your website around that. It sounds very counterintuitive. But Pastor, how many times have you preached a sermon and you ended it with, hey, if you're new here, we'd love to meet you. Come find me afterwards. If you've accepted Christ, if you made a decision, you just want to be prayed for, come down to the front. Our ushers are going to be waiting for you. Maybe you need to recommit your life, come down to the front. And by the way, I want you to also remember that we have youth camp coming. If you've got a student, go sign up in the back. And if you are so led, you can donate in the back. And on your way out, there's an offering plate. I've already overwhelmed you. Whatever, I'm going to be bold here. Whatever God's calling someone, whatever God pulling someone to make a decision, and you're sitting there mumbling off a menu of things to do, you've immediately created a barrier between them and actually doing something. Versus when you end a sermon just like this, right? Now, if you feel called to surrender your life or just be prayed for, I'm going to be down here. Usher's going to be down here. You come. And let's work out this faith thing together. That's it. That's the only thing you're asking people to do. Which one is going to get more activity? Hey, if you're feeling something, come down and let's pray about it. Or if you're this, do this. If you're this, do this. If you're this, do that. Which one gets more action? Which one is more directed? Okay? In the same way that less options creates more action, our website, when it has less options, at least on the front end, you will get more action. This is why you have to decide, is our website for guests or is our website for church? Because you're not going to appeal to both, okay? In fact, most of the website problems pastors tell me they have is because they're trying to appeal for both, right? No, people that come to our church, that visit our church, they never even check our website out in the first place. That's because the people that are visiting your website decide that your church isn't for them. Okay? And they also say, our church says our website is unusable. Because you're trying to play to both. Okay? Now, I'm not saying you can't play to both, but you've got to pick a priority. And if it was me, I would rather my congregation jump through some hoops than some guests jump through some hoops. Because I'd rather keep my congregation stumbling to try to find a sign up than a potential guest stumbling to try to find Jesus. I hope that makes sense. So let me jump real quick into the 5 key pages. Anytime we build a website, we always build these 5 key pages. This is the content that you need on your website to draw guests in. And one of them is actually going to surprise you. Number 1, of course, is the homepage. The homepage, if your website is the front door, this is the front door to your front door. It's your welcome mat. Most people are going to land on your website on your homepage, whether they find you in Yelp, Google My Business, they just Google churches and they find you, or they hear someone say this name, and they go search First Baptist of whatever, right? Your homepage is the primary landing page. This is where that most important question is. What's the one thing you want someone to do when they visit your website? Make that the key focus. This is like all over your homepage. The only thing you're asking people to do is take this one step. And so you're going to say, what's your headliner there, right? Life is hard. Jesus is easy. I always go to that one because it's not used anymore, and it was one of my favorite headlines we ever wrote. Life is hard. Jesus is easy. And we want to guide you to him, whatever your subline is, right? Plan a visit. Join us on Sunday. In fact, join us on Sunday is much more personal than plan a visit, right? Plan a visit sounds like the chili waiter. Hey, here you go, plan a visit. Versus join us on Sunday. See what to expect on Sunday. Discover what's going on here, right? Something like that is going to be much more personal, much more guided. And then when they scroll down the homepage, you're going to keep calling them to plan that visit. Okay? You're going to go next to maybe a testimonial. Hey, I once was lost, but now I'm found. Thanks to this church, I found Jesus. Whatever the testimonial is, it needs to be like that. Not happy church, friendly faces, funny preacher, right? That's not a testimonial. That's a review. We want testimonials on the site. We want testimonials on our review too, okay? And then maybe they scroll down and they see that your church understands them, right? Hey, life is hard. We get it. Okay, the world has become more complex, and it's not fair that no one prepared you for not only the physical battles of this world, but the internal spiritual battles that you feel within. Thankfully, we were created to live for a higher purpose, and we'd love to show you that what we've discovered in our own faith journeys. Come find out. A great first step to come meet us is to join us on Sundays, right? You constantly lead that. Maybe you have a ministry section, right? And it says, hey, we've got ministries for your family. We've got a nursery. We've got kids ministry. We've got adult Bible study. We've even got life groups. And the best way to discover these ministries is in person. Join us on Sunday, right? You are constantly asking for that one thing. I know it sounds boring. It sounds aggressive. But hey, Jesus was pretty aggressive too. We have to be pretty aggressive because we are living in an aggressive time. If we are not the aggressive ones, guess who is? The enemy, the world, the culture, the demons out there, whatever you want to call them. They are aggressing on these people's attention, on these people's lifestyles, on these people's culture. We have to answer that with similar or nay, rise above that noise with holy aggression, if I can use that, all right? So your homepage needs to be focused on that call to action. Now, the next one really is all centered around that one thing you want them to do. In most churches, again, it's like a what to expect, a plan to visit page, a Sunday page, whatever that call to action is. Okay, I'll just hit on this because this is what most churches are going to want. All right, is going to be that page. Okay, we're going to call it your action page or your next steps page. Okay, but don't call it next steps. It's very generic. Imagine you went to your local cable companies, whoever you get your internet from, and you're like, all right, yeah, let me go check out this internet package. And there's a button that says next steps. What does that mean? No one knows what it means. We keep using it for churches. Don't use next steps. Okay, same thing with Connect. That's a whole nother show I could do. So the next one's going to be all around your primary action. Okay, so let's say it's plan a visit on Sunday. Now you're going to build a whole page that's going to guide people to take one step. What's the one thing you want them to do? Okay, if you want them to come on Sunday, you've got to give them something to do. Don't just give them information about what to expect on Sunday. They're going to forget it as soon as they click that X button and they open up Angry Birds on their phone. Okay, you've got to get a commitment out of them. All right, in the same way you talk to someone and you're like, let me share the gospel with you. Okay, obviously I want them to accept Jesus. Maybe they're not ready to accept Jesus. So then maybe I'll ask to pray for them or ask to pray for them. Or maybe I'll say, hey, can I follow up with you? Come to church with me on Sunday. Whatever that is, you want to get a commitment out of someone. If you're just going around talking about Jesus but never asking for a commitment, you're not really making disciples, right? You got to call people to do something. So when they're on your action page, let's, for example, plan a visit. You want them to do something. Now, you could ask them to do a plan a visit. I'm not a huge fan of plan a visit stuff because they're too complicated and they ask for too much information, okay? I don't want to fill out a tax form so I can go to your church, okay? So I can feel like I can go to your church, right? I don't like that, okay? Just compel it down to let us know you're coming. We'll save a seat for you. Let us know you're coming. We'll prepare a gift for you. Let us know you're coming. I love this one pastor we have. It says, let us know you're coming and ask us a question that you've always wanted to ask, and pastor will address it on Sunday, right? Like that's great for churches that want to reach like the burned out on church because they're like, ooh, I got this guy. And they ask like, how come homosexuality is not mentioned in the New Testament, right? You and I both know it is, but they don't for some reason. So like, they'll ask that question. They'll be like, ooh, now, what great motivator is it for someone to actually go to church if you're going to answer their tough question and they're going to see you answer it in person? What a great motivator, right? So anyways, so you kind of you picture it as a funnel, right? You're like, hey, come on Sunday. Now they're looking at Sundays. Okay, now we want you to take this one action so we know you're prepared for Sunday. Worst case, at the very minimum on your Sunday page, put a button that says get directions and it takes them to the Maps app. Okay, there's a way to link it. I can't get into it here. It takes them to their Maps app. Now your church is in their Maps app. So when they open up Google Maps, they don't got to find you. You're in their recent history. I hope that makes sense. If your action page is something else, find a group, join a group, visit a group, whatever it is, right? Again, don't focus on here's all our groups. Pick one and be healthy, right? Show why they should care about groups, how groups can serve them, and then guide them to pick a group. I don't like doing, hey, here's all our groups, pick one of our 13 groups. Now I got a homework assignment to go find the one that looks like me, okay? Instead, you can compile a way to kind of like a questionnaire. And, this gets them to answer questions about themselves. It's very low risk. Who doesn't like talking about themselves? Now I can point people to a recommended group or two. There's a way you can do that. It's a little more complicated. You're not going to get it with something like Squarespace, but it is possible. Now, the next page we want to talk about is your About page. For some people, they have enough leadership that they want their own leadership page, but this one is usually going to get the Christians or the people that have experience with church, have been burned out by church, and they want to make sure you're not crazy. They want to make sure that you believe the same things that they do. So you should have an About page, and again, this About page does not stop at information. It needs to call people to action to go to your primary action page, okay? Your Sunday page, your group page, whatever it is, okay? So when you share your About page, yeah, sure, share your mission, share your visions, share your leaders, share a video from the pastor, but always call them to go to that action page, okay? If someone says, hey, I like Pastor Gary, that's cool, I'm gonna forget about you once I open up my Angry Birds app, okay? You need to call them, okay, hey, a note from Pastor Gary or a letter from Pastor John, right? Hey, I get it. Life is hard. As a local Cincinnatian myself, I grew up in this land, and this city is not what it used to be. We want to bring God back to this city, and so we can impact this city. Click here to join us on Sundays and join our mission. Whatever the note says or whatever the message says, there's a call to action to go back to the primary action, okay? Your About page is almost always going to be clicked on by church transplants or already existing Christians or someone that's already familiar with the church. Your guests, probably not, because they think they know what a church is. They're just trying to make sure that your church is the one to go to, and you guide them through a different path. But the About page is usually going to be the second or third most clicked on page for your website, so it's important to have that. Now, the last two are less important, but I like to build these out because, again, it's just someone's going to be curious, and so they're going to click around. So a ministries page is good to have, at least what we call a ministry lander. That's like an overview of all your ministries. This one shows connection. And again, you got to bring it back to your purpose, bring it back to your mission, okay? It's great your church has a book club. If your book club is not a place to make disciples who make disciples, maybe it doesn't belong on the website because it's a great ministry. It's not mission-minded, which is a whole separate conversation of itself, but you want to keep your website focused, okay? But it's a good place to put very basic information about your nursery, your kids ministry, your young adult ministry, your Bible studies, your local missions, your food pantry, whatever it is. This is just good as kind of a catch-all. So if someone's searching for something, you have a chance for showing up and they can find you that way. Or maybe they just want to make sure you have a nursery. Maybe they want to make sure, like, see if you have a food pantry. People will go and click on this page. So it's good to have it there for the people that are looking for it. Few times I've met someone that said, well, I couldn't find all they wanted me to do was come on Sunday. I couldn't find any other information. Landing pages are good for advertisements, but for your church website, you do want to give an overview, but that primary front of the website needs to be focused on that primary action. But for someone that's curious, it's good to have something like your ministries and About page. The last thing is kind of like a secret slip in. The young people, we say, slide into the DMs, okay? This is a great way to slide into people's radar to show that your church is a church on mission, your church is there to serve, your church is there to provide, and your church has a higher calling than to just build a bigger building and buy the pastor a new car, and that's your Give page, okay? People may think, well, our Give page is very internal focused, right? And for people that just put, hey, give now, here's how you can give, click here to give. Yeah, that's a very internal focused Give page. What if you could take your Give page and make it outward focused, make it externally focused, so that it actually, without calling the potential guest to give, because most churches don't want their guests to give, they want their guests to come in person. That's your gift to us. How many times have we said that? But what if it still spoke to that potential guest and said, we're a church on mission. We're a church that cares about you, that serves you, that loves you. The way we do that is with gifts and tithes and offerings. But let's look at what that goes to. And so your Give page, don't just put a button that says give and then link to a giving form. All right, that's very internal focus. Don't just create a page that says give now, 3 ways to give, click here to give, and it goes to that form. Instead, focus on what giving does or how giving plays a role in your mission. So how does giving play a role in making disciples? Well, our giving provides ministry support, so our ministries can go out and feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Our ministry goes towards local missions where we're supporting local schools, local orphanage. Our giving goes towards providing for our ministry events so we can bring more people in the community to come hear the hopeful message of Christ, right? Whatever your giving goes towards, whatever the results are, the mission-minded results of your giving, that should go on your Give page. So that way when someone clicks, this does 2 things. When someone clicks on your Give page, if they're not really meaning to give, but they're like, what's this page here? They'll see that your church is a church on mission and that you're actually more focused on results or ministry than the money that it takes to make it happen. Okay? And if they're willing to give, okay, they're actually seeing what their giving is going towards and they'll give a little more. Okay? Because if I'm looking, I'm like, I got $100, I'll give 50 to the church. I go to this website and I'm like, wow, they actually fed 800 people. They clothed 40 people. They got 40 job interviews. There's some stories of benevolence. Oh, they've got youth camp coming up. You know what? I'm going to give 80. Maybe I'll give the whole 100. I don't know. But people will actually give more when they see what their money is going towards. So it's very important to have on a give page. Even if you don't have online giving, make a give page so people can see what their money is going towards. And that's how we kind of like slide in there that, hey, this is a church you can trust. This is a church that cares about our community, that is living on mission, that is gospel focused. Because even when we talk about giving, we talk about it in the context of what ministry is, not in the context of how much do you want to give. I hope that makes sense. And one bonus step there is a transitory step or a secondary next step. This is an option of, hey, like maybe someone think about the greeter analogy. Someone comes to church, your greeter says, oh, hey, you've got kids. Can I show you to the kids ministry? And they say, no, kids are going to church with me. And then you say, oh, okay, well then can I show you to the sanctuary, right? If they're not ready to take that primary step, you want to give them a transitory or transition step that, like, if you're not ready to do this, then let's do that instead. Okay, this is usually a lower risk. You don't want to say, don't want to plan a visit, come to a life group instead. Like, if they're not ready to be in a group of people, they're not going to be also ready for a group of people. This is usually a transition step to warm them up into making that primary action. This is where a lot of churches, lose the focus of their website because they have a million transitory steps, or their transition step in no way plays a part of their primary step. So if you want people to plan a visit on Sunday, but they're not ready, you might want them to watch an online sermon. If they're not ready to join a group, you might want them to learn about community, right? Work out their faith, okay? Whatever that looks like, we want to give them something that plays a role. And one of the ways we do that is with an online guest gift. You may not have heard of an online guest gift, but this is a new way that we're turning more online visitors into in-person guests. Whether that's in person on a church on Sunday, or in person in a group, or in person just getting coffee with the pastor, we now have a way, thanks to modern marketing methods, to create an online guest gift that builds trust and connects with potential guests ahead of their visit. Okay, we prepare guests gifts for when they come on Sunday and lets them know that we prepared for them, we were expecting them, and we appreciate them. What if you could do the same thing online on your website? That's what we call an online guest gift. So what is an online guest gift? Quite simply, it's a way to connect and nurture your online guests, to provide some value to them, to provide some communication that you understand them, and to show that you actually care enough for them that instead of saying, hey, what can you do for me? You want to come to church? You want to come to an event? You want to give? Instead, it's all about what can I give you? And so much like we look at, okay, we want to show appreciation for our guests. We want to show that we expected them. We want to show that we care for their needs. We're going to create a gift for when they come in person. We're going to reward them for coming in person to reward an action that they took, that we want them to take, okay? In the same way, we can build an online guest gift that rewards them for paying attention to our church, for taking a next step, which is just downloading it, okay? And a bonus, you've got to get that gift to them somehow, so you get their name and email, okay? And now you can not only deliver the gift, but now you can follow up with them to introduce yourself, understand them, start a dialogue essentially ahead of their visit, okay? So why do we do it? Why should we do this? Why should we go this extra step? Again, if your website is mission focused, then why not do it? Because it's extra work? Listen, if someone downloads your gift, your online guest gift, which I'll get into what those are in a second, what they can be, I'll give you some examples. If someone visits your website, clicks around and leaves, you have no idea who they are. You have no idea if they're going to know about you, remember you, or eventually come. It's kind of like, you put a new sign out and you're like, okay, the survey said there's 20,000 cars driving by our road. It's very exciting. But then when you buy the sign and install it, you got $40,000 sitting on your lawn and you're like, is anyone even seeing this? When they drive past it, are they even going to remember it? And then you get a little bit of buyer's remorse, right? But what if when people drove by, you got their name and you could email them or text them later to check in on them, right? So why do we do this? It gives us a way to build a relationship with potential guests, with our online visitors, without relying on them to come to us. It's a way that we can go to them. So when I say online guest gift, it's obviously a gift. It's something that's free that we're giving to our online visitors so they can get something from us and we can nurture them and learn more about them. So some gift ideas that you can use for your church website. You basically have to look at who are we equipped to serve, what's their primary need, or what is the main thing our community is struggling with, and then what can we provide for them as a church that answers that need that we can then follow through on. Okay? And it needs to be something that you can follow through on. If your pastor is an accountant or used to be an accountant, hey, then maybe you can do some kind of financial planner or what does the Bible say about money? And then if they have further questions, the pastor is equipped to answer those questions. If you're a pastor that has no financial wherewithal, then don't do something like that. Don't make that a gift, okay? In the same way that we might put devotionals or what does the Bible say about whatever, or who is Jesus, those little tracts, in our guest bags in person, we can do something like that online, but make sure it answers a burning need that your community has and one that your pastor can follow up on. Okay, that was a little side note. So some gift ideas is what is your community struggling with that your church can answer? So let's say you want to reach young families. What are some problems that young families have? All right. They don't know how to communicate with their kids. They don't know how to get them off of tablets. Their kids drive them crazy by not being able to focus on something. Or maybe they're concerned that their kids, they don't know how to share their faith with their kids, right? Or they don't know how to raise up godly kids, maybe because they weren't raised up godly themselves. I'm not talking about a resource just for Christian parents. I mean, this could be for anyone, right? So you create that resource. So let's say kids are driving the parents crazy. Okay, well, here's 10 fun ideas for your kids on a rainy day. Because they can't go outside, they can't go visit their friends. We want them to be off a tablet. Maybe it's 10 fun ideas for your kids on a rainy day without relying on the tablet. Okay, so number one, if I'm a parent, then hey, this church obviously cares about parents, so they care about me. And they obviously understand my needs because I don't know how to take care of my kids when it's a rainy day. I'm exhausted. They're wound up. So maybe they obviously understand that I need something. Okay? Maybe it's 10 fun ways to share Jesus with your kids, or maybe 10 fun faith-based videos that your kids will love and want to watch over and over again. Okay? Again, speaking to me as a parent, I have young kids. I want them to be good, godly kids, unlike I was. This church understands and will help me in this, okay? Maybe it's 10 prayers for your kids, okay? I know I'm focusing on the families, okay? Now, maybe you're a church that's in an impoverished neighborhood, okay? I've got a few of those clients, okay? They're in gang-riddled territory. They're in a county that's under the poverty line, one of the poorest counties, or they're just in an undereducated population because they're out in the country, okay? And there's no good public schools. Maybe they're in the city and there's no public schools. So then you want to, what do they need, okay? Well, they got bad credit. They are a couple months or maybe 1 month away from eviction. They need to get some financial help, okay? So you can create a financial resource, right? And it doesn't have to be how to get money. It could be how to save money, okay? 10, I know I keep saying the word 10. Maybe it's 3, okay? 3 places. Or how about this? This is one that we were working on, but we scrapped. 3 benefits for school lunch kids you didn't know about, okay? And I know this sounds very commercial, but we'll put it in the context of the church, okay? So if you're serving an impoverished area, you have a food pantry, guess what? That's number 1, okay? What else can parents who are on the school lunch program, government paid school lunch, what other benefits can they take advantage of? A lot of people didn't know this, but kids got free lunch in the summer in the town we used to live. And you didn't even have to be on the school lunch program, but hey, that's still applicable, right? Because even if you are, you can get free lunch in the summer or during Christmas breaks, whatever have you. So you can create a resource for these parents or for these people that are having issues affording their rent. Well, guess what? If you can get a couple free meals this month, that's another 20, 30 bucks you can put towards rent to at least stave off eviction, right? It's showing that I understand where you are. I understand your difficulties in life. And if I can understand you, then maybe when I share Jesus, you'll understand that I see it as the real answer because I've been able to answer one concern in your life. So when I say Jesus can answer another or all of them, you're more likely to pay attention. One more example we're doing for a boomer church. We're still building this out, but one concern is they want to reach an audience that wants to create a faith-based legacy. They feel like they've been left behind by the world and they don't know how to share Jesus with their kids. Maybe they tried, but their kids aren't going to church. How can they leave a Christian legacy in their family? We're creating an ebook for them so they can download it. So when someone comes to their site, they're like, I feel like the world has left me behind. I feel like my family's leaving behind. Look at this. There's a resource. How to create a faith-based legacy in your family. That's obviously something I'm concerned with. So let me download this because this church understands my needs. You show that you understand their needs, they are more likely to listen to you when you say, I have more answers for you. In this case, probably in the form of Jesus or in the form of the gospel or in the form of our church and how we can show you Jesus. Okay? So to summarize all that, just think about a document, something that you can deliver, okay, that's going to answer a burning question in their heart and that your church can follow up on in that if it's a financial resource because you have a food pantry, if it's family answers or devotionals because you have a great kids program. What are some other examples? If you're a blue collar church, right, maybe it's you put how to be a better employee, okay? I don't know what it is, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be churchy. It doesn't have to be a devotional, okay? We give out mugs in church, okay? The mug doesn't have Bible passages on it. It has the church logo on it. It's not churchy. It's just a gift because, hey, we appreciate you coming, right? So when I talk about a transitory step earlier in the show, okay, this can be that transitory step. Because you want to show that you understand someone. Therefore, when you invite them to church, it's because you understand the church is something that they need. So how does this online guest gift work? I hope I did a good job of explaining it for you. If I didn't, I'll have a training coming out later about how you can actually build your own and how to implement it. Okay, but how does it work? Okay, so let's say I create a document. It doesn't have to be pretty. Don't get lost on the design. If you want it to be designed, go to Canva. All right, but don't overthink this, okay? Make it simple. Simple. You can create this in a Word document. All right? But how does this work? So you create a resource. Let's say 10 prayers to pray at night with your kids. First of all, I would love that. I would love that devotional, even if I wasn't a Christian, right? I know several non-Christian parents that would like that because they want their kids to be focused on something other than themselves, okay? So 10 nighttime prayers to share with your kids, okay? So I have that. How does it work? First of all, you put a big old download button on your website. It's not the primary button. It's the secondary button. Okay, there's some strategy with that as well we can't get into here. But let's say as they scroll down your homepage, they see, hey, want to build a better faith relationship with your kids? Click here to download 10 nighttime prayers to share with your kids. All right. Maybe you have a resource section. Maybe it's in your nav bar, free resources or parent resources, whatever it is. You put it on your kids' page. Maybe you even have a flyer out in the community. You've got a church flyer, join us on Sundays, but then you also have, hey parents, want your kids to be more empathetic of what's going on in the world, download our 10 nighttime prayers to get them thinking less of themselves and more about others when they fall asleep at night. Whatever that looks like. I know I'm not doing a good job, but I may even sound like I'm making it easy. This stuff takes time to bring out, okay? But let's say you've got that thing, okay, that online guest gift. How do you deliver it? You've got to get some kind of piece of software. Some websites can deliver one email. That's not what I'm talking about. I know our websites, we can design a form, they fill it out, and it shoots them an email, okay? And we could put a link in there. That's not what I want because it's just one email, okay? If you're super penny pinching, you could do that because the form gives you their name and email, and then you can go in by hand. Then you got to create a little spreadsheet tracker. Okay, I emailed this person. All right, now I want to follow up with them, blah, blah, blah. What you want is what's called an autoresponder, a very popular one, especially with churches, is MailChimp, because I think they have a free plan. We have our own that we use at Nava Church Marketing So we have complete control. We don't have to work within their templates or work within their do's and don'ts. Also professional setup. All that aside, you just want something. ActiveCampaign, it's not the cheapest, but it is my favorite because it's the most reliable. But you want something that is going to auto-deliver that gift. So if someone comes to your church website on a Wednesday night, you don't got to send it to them on a Wednesday night. Like that form gets filled out and they automatically get that gift in their inbox. But not only that, there's an automation that fires off. And you can set it up to where, okay, they downloaded the gift, immediately use that email they gave you to fire off that devotional or prayer guide, let's say. And then the next day, fire off another email that says, hey, I want to make sure you got it. What did you think? What's your feedback? Okay. How did we do? Or in 2 days, have you prayed with your kid yet? Right? So you have an automated follow-up so you, pastor, can focus on your pastoral things. Meanwhile, they're getting personalized messages from you that say, here's your guide. What'd you think of the guide? Did you use the guide? Do you have any questions about the guide? And hey, by the way, we understand that this may be important to you. This is important to us as a church as well. And I'd love to dive deeper into it. Now you've got their attention as a parent. Now you can introduce them to your kids' ministry, some kids' testimonies. By the way, you should be sharing stories constantly in these follow-up emails. It should not be come to church, come to nursery, come to VBS, sign up for this. Are you volunteering yet? It should be, here's your guide. What'd you think of the guide? Here's the story of someone that had their relationship improved because of our guide. Have you prayed with your kids yet? Here's another story of a parent in our congregation that has a better relationship with their kid, maybe or maybe not because of the guide, but because of our church at least, right? You're sharing stories, you're sharing inspiration. All of this is to nurture them to connect or take that primary action you wanted them to take in the first place. Meaning, did you pray with your kids? That's fantastic. We'd love to show you and pray for you because mom, dad, you need prayer too. The best place to do that is to connect with us on Sunday, or the best place to do that is to connect with us in a group. You are nurturing them to go from that easy transitory step into your purposeful, the primary step you want them to take. Okay, so I have your software. I've kind of already went into that. MailChimp, ActiveCampaign. My church uses ConvertKit. I think we got some kind of deal on it. You can also go to AppSumo. Now, don't get burdened down by picking a software. They all do the same thing. They just do it a little bit differently and for different prices. Okay, just pick one and go with it. Because the more time you spend fiddling with this software, the less time you're actually doing ministry. I really believe that. If you're a pastor or church leader with ministry responsibilities, the last thing you want to do is forego what you're supposed to be doing to try to get a software to do what it's supposed to be doing, okay? The last thing is you want to know how to fit it in your website, and for that, I've got a free resource for you. Go to navachurchwebsite.com, navachurchwebsite.com. We've got a definitive homepage framework that you can copy, and this works for any software. I'm not asking you to download software. I'm just giving you this framework. It's the same thing we do, and in it, it shows how you can showcase your online guest gift on your website. So maybe after listening to this or watching this, you've got an idea of what you want to have on your site. That framework at navachurchwebsite.com is going to show you how to put it on your site. And not only that, how to put it on your site in a way that compels action, that gets people to actually say, yes, I want to download that. I need that. Because that's what you want, okay? Now, let me summarize all this, okay? Because we've been talking about reaching your community through effective website content. We talked about, why your website content is more important than your design. We talked about the content your website needs to draw in church guests, including how your gift page can do that, even if you don't ask them to give money as a guest. And then how to create an online guest gift to build trust and connect with potential guests ahead of their visit. Because imagine this, instead of a stranger walking into your church and your greeter's got to say, I've never seen that person before. Let me go introduce myself. Hi, my name is John. Are you new here? Can I show you around? That's the typical first-time guest experience. Imagine instead of that, someone walks into your church and you say, is that Bill? Bill? Oh my, I am so glad you're here. And this must be Michelle. Oh, I'm so glad y'all are here. I'm Pastor John. I'm the one you've been talking to. I hope you've had an experience like that in the past. This is something that we see happening again and again because earlier that week or 2 weeks ago, Bill downloaded that online guest gift. Bill got emails from the pastor and Bill responded, I appreciate this. Thank you so much. Here's my feedback. And here's what I desperately need for my family. And pastor started a conversation and they traded 2 to 3 to 5 emails. And Bill said, you know what? I will bring my wife to church on Sunday. And you've got kind of an idea of what they look like, right? Maybe you expect them to have 2 kids. So you can recognize them off the bat. And instead of, are you new here? What can I do for you? It's, oh my gosh, I finally met you. And you have a connection with this person before they even step foot in your building. Which means what? Which means they've already formed a connection themselves. They cannot come in and blend in to the back row. But instead they come in and they are actually welcomed into a family because you actually know them. How much different would your church be if that was the case? How many more people would be coming back to your church because you formed a relationship with them ahead of the visit? So despite your shortcomings, despite the sound errors, despite the peeling wallpaper, despite the old shaggy carpet, despite the burnt coffee, despite all the things we worry about on Sunday, they already have a relationship with you. They've already got some trust with you. And they're that much more open to hearing what God can communicate to them through you and your church. That's what we're talking about when it comes to reaching your community through effective church website content. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe wherever you are. If you're listening, leave a review. I'd love to know how we're doing to serve you. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you guys. Remember to go to navachurchwebsite.com to get that guide. I will see you guys next week. God bless.
That's going to do it for today's episode of the Best Known Church Show with Justin Nava. Be sure to subscribe to stay updated on the latest news, strategies, and resources that you need to reach 10x more people and become the best known in your community. To send us a message or leave a voicemail for Justin to be played on a future show, visit thebestknownchurchshow.com. And if you'd like to work with us so you can focus on your ministry, give us a call at 832-861-7654. Until next time, stay outrageous, unreasonable, and relentless.